We're going to be talking about Google Ad Grant today. So what it is, how you can get started with it if you're not already using it. And we're going to be talking about an integration that Feathr is building that will allow you to run Google Ad Grant directly alongside your other marketing campaigns in Feathr. So I am Isa Hasty. I am the Senior Product Marketing Manager here at Feathr, and my role is to help nonprofits understand how to use digital marketing to reach new audiences, engage your existing audience, drive action, whether that's getting donations, getting new volunteers, raising awareness about your services to those in your community. It's all about using the right marketing tools and sort of having the right strategy in place. So today's webinar is going to be focused on how you can build Google Ad Grant into your overall marketing strategy. And just a quick note before I introduce my colleague Chris, who's going to be joining us, Feathr is in the development phase with this integration. So we're currently running a pilot program with the Google Ad Grant integration with some existing customers to kind of make sure that everything is fully optimized based on real life use cases. And then we are going to be releasing the integration in the spring for anyone who wants to manage their Google Ad Grant in Feathr. So this webinar is intended to give you kind of a glimpse into what that's going to look like in Feathr and also serve as a bit of a heads up for you to get started applying for the grant if you think this is something you'd be interested in running in Feathr in the next few months. So I will welcome Chris on the stage to introduce himself.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Isa. I don't think she said so, but Isa and I are both joining this webinar from Feathr's home base of Gainesville, Florida. I'm the Associate Director of Product Communication at Feathr. Part of my responsibilities include communicating changes, updates, that sort of thing, getting the word out there about new features, and Google Ad Grant integration certainly counts as that. So I'm joining from the product side of Feathr, and you'll be hearing more from me later on as I show about exactly what can be done using Feathr and the Google Ads integration that is coming very soon.
Cool. Thanks, Chris. So some quick agenda items before we dive in. We'll be sending out the slide deck and the recording after the webinar as always, so no worries, look out for that in your inbox. If you have any questions as we go through the presentation, feel free to drop them in the chat and we'll get to them as we can. So we're going to start today by talking about what Google Ad Grant is, what the benefits are for nonprofits, and how it all works. So if you're already using it and you're here to learn about how you can do that in Feathr, just bear with us for a few minutes for this short refresher for anyone who might need it. And then we're going to dive into how it actually works in Feathr in just a few minutes. And so that'll be Chris's part. He's going to go into Feathr's integration with Google Ad Grant, kind of show how it works to set up campaigns in Feathr and what some of the unique benefits are of doing this all in the same place with your other marketing campaigns. And then toward the end, we're going to touch a little bit more on some of the ways that you can combine Google Ad Grant campaigns with other marketing campaigns to really maximize your outreach, get in front of people wherever they are, whether that's showing them ads based on search terms or their physical location or actions they've taken online. So we'll kind of talk through some of the ways that you can build Google Ad Grant into the other marketing efforts you're working on. So before we get into it, I just wanted to ask a question to get a bit of a breakdown of the room. So what is your current relationship to Google Ad Grant? Do you just drop answers in the chat based on sort of where you're at? So are you successfully running campaigns and you're just here to kind of get some tips on ways to optimize that or do it in Feathr? Maybe you've tried but sort of struggled with, maintaining the grant. You might have heard of it but never really looked into it or applied. Or maybe you have never heard of it and you're here to learn all about it. Okay, lots of B's. I saw that coming. Again, and we'll talk all about this, but I think it has to do with just nonprofit marketers are wearing so many hats. It can be really hard to kind of balance all of these different channels and sort of know what to prioritize. So it can feel kind of like a nice to have and easy to put on the back burner, but it's a really powerful channel that I think is worth prioritizing and learning about. So we're going to get into some tips and tricks that hopefully make it easier for you guys. Lots of A's. That's good too. Glad to hear that some of you are having success with it. Would also love, if you have tips that you want to drop in the chat on how you've made it work for yourself, feel free to drop any of that in as we go. Just trying to read these comments here. Yeah, so using the quarterly reports that they give you to sort of tweak campaigns and iterate, that's great. using the data that you get from Google Ads to make your marketing better. Okay. Managing the grants in Google Ads sucks. Cool, do it in Feathr. Okay, awesome. Keep dropping answers in if you'd like, but I'll go ahead and move on. Thanks for giving me a little bit of a sense of where you guys are all at with this. Okay, cool. So what is Google Ad Grant? Let's start with a quick refresher on what Google Ads is, and then we'll get into the grant. So just for anybody, I think most of you are probably familiar with this, but just for anyone who isn't, when you type something into Google in the search engine, there are always these sponsored ads at the top of the list, right? Like you can see in this image here. We've all seen this when we're searching for things. So if you've done any SEO, search engine optimization for your nonprofit, you know that that's a separate thing that involves optimizing your website, optimizing your online content to try to show up as high on this page as possible organically, right? You want to show up in the search results high up through organic efforts to sort of like backlink to your site, make sure you're getting good traffic and linking between pages. So that's SEO, which you might have heard of. Google Ads, on the other hand, is paid ads that let you basically bid on the chance to show up in this top spot. And then if somebody clicks on the ad, that's when you pay for that, right? So it's similar to how retargeting works. So if you're running any retargeting campaigns in Feathr or another platform, with retargeting, you're basically bidding to show up in those ad slots on sites, on social media sites, on websites online where people are browsing. So with Google Ads, it's similar. You're bidding to show up in this top spot at the top of the search results page. And this is obviously, a great way to drive more awareness of your cause, drive traffic to your website. And we'll get into that in a little bit more depth in a minute. But I just wanted to kind of give this quick refresher so we're on the same page about what Google Ads itself is as a channel. So what is the Google Ad Grant? So this is basically a program that Google runs to help kind of level the playing field for nonprofits and give them easier access to this channel. So it's a really powerful channel, but as I just mentioned, and as we'll get into more, it can be hard to manage so many channels as a nonprofit marketer. You might be doing a bunch of different things. You're already running a lot of marketing campaigns, and this might just feel like an extra thing that you have to deal with. And so I think Google kind of wants to extend the power of this channel and its search engine to nonprofits by providing some money to kind of help make things a little easier. So if you are eligible for this grant, which we'll get into the details of that in a minute too, you have access to $10,000 a month to run paid search ads on Google. So again, this can help you raise awareness, attract donors, recruit volunteers, promote your services in your community, all that kind of stuff. And there isn't really a catch other than that you have to apply, you have to be eligible, obviously. And it's another channel to manage, but again, doing it in Feathr is helpful. So we'll get into that as well. But yeah, it's a great opportunity for nonprofits. And so just for a little bit of context, my goal in the next few slides is if you do not yet have a Google Ad Grant, I want to make it feel kind of as simple as possible to get started. I know a lot of you are busy. And again, it can feel kind of a little daunting to get started with something like this. And there's a ton of information online, and Google itself provides a lot of information on getting started with this. But I know that can feel like its own set of chores to like go learn about it and figure out how to do it. So I want to try to kind of break down what the process looks like, how you decide if you're eligible, and how you can kind of get started. And then if you do have a Google Ad Grant, whether you're seeing success or maybe you're struggling with it a bit, I'm hoping the next few slides are helpful and just kind of offer some perspective on why it is an important channel to be investing in and optimizing. I'll go over some best practices that I think could help enhance any of the campaigns you might already be running. Cool. So before I get into the process for getting started, I want to just talk quickly through some of the benefits of Google Ad Grant for nonprofits. So some of the reasons that you should be using this channel for your organization. So obviously, Google is the primary place where people do research, compare products, navigate the web. So I think it goes without saying that, capturing some of this traffic will benefit your organization and give you access to new people who could become donors, volunteers, recipients of your services, whatever else you might be looking for. And so this first bullet here, right, expanding awareness of your services. So driving awareness and getting in front of the people that you serve can be a huge challenge for a lot of nonprofits. And so this is a great way to show up for the people who are already searching for specific services that you offer, right? So, they might be searching food banks, animal foster care, youth development, shelters, like basically anything your organization offers, there are people searching for it. And so this gives you a chance to actually show up at the top of the results when they're searching for you. And then the second one here is reaching potential donors, volunteers, and employees. So not only can you promote your organization to the people that you actually serve, but you can also run Google Ads to reach other types of people, right? Other people that can help your organization serve the people that you serve. And so, reaching potential donors, volunteers, even employees, if you're recruiting new staff, a lot of people go to Google when they're feeling inspired to help out in their community. If they want to donate to a cause, they'll go Google something. If they're looking for a new job, they might go to Google first. And so this is just a place where so much of this happens. And so showing up there, at the top when they go looking is key. And then Google Ad Grant can also complement your other marketing channels and marketing efforts. So omni-channel marketing, it's something we talk about a lot at Feathr. I talk about that all the time on these webinars. It's key for nonprofits to drive awareness and stay top of mind, really surrounding your audience with your message on multiple channels. And so I'll go into a little more detail on this point sort of toward the end. And Chris will talk about it a little bit as well. But one of the major benefits of Google Ad Grant is you're adding yet another touch point to your audience's journey with you, and a major one too. And then understanding your audience through the data that you can get through Google Ad Grant. So you can learn a lot about your audience, like, for example, exactly what they're typing into Google when they're searching for organizations like yours. And this can inform your strategy for future campaigns, right? You can see what keywords they're looking for and then use those later, or even incorporate those into an existing campaign, kind of optimize and iterate on your campaigns in real time. And Google also provides a lot of demographic and geographic data on the people who are engaging with your ads. And this can be super helpful, give you insights maybe on where you can fill gaps in your marketing or shift priorities, and kind of like where people are coming from who are interested in your cause. And then the last bullet here pretty much speaks for itself. So, more and more nonprofits are utilizing Google Ad Grant. And so you'll simply be at a disadvantage if you don't use it as well. It's super powerful. It's free money for your organization, and others are doing it. So it's a really important thing to kind of get on board with. Okay, so let's get into how you know if your organization is eligible. So to qualify for the Google Ad Grant, your organization has to be registered as a 501c3. It needs to be in one of these designated countries that is on a list that I linked here in the presentation. So once we send this out, once we send out the deck, you can obviously click on the links in here just to kind of do a little bit more digging yourself. But I'm assuming most of you are in the US or Canada, but for any who aren't, you can check this list on Google's Nonprofit Help Center, or in the link in the deck once we send that, and see if you're in an eligible country. And another caveat is that the Google Ad Grant is not available to government agencies, healthcare orgs, hospitals, schools, academic institutions, things like that. Again, I think most of the people on this webinar don't fall in any of those categories. If you do, if you're realizing that you might not be eligible for this, feel free to stay on here anyway if you want to learn more about Google Ads as a channel, or sort of what Feathr is working on. Obviously, no pressure. Unfortunately, Feathr has no control over who is eligible. This is entirely determined by Google. We're just the messenger. But that being said, hopefully most of you are eligible and will benefit from learning about this. Couple more little stipulations here. So your website needs to be hosted on its own unique domain. So basically, this just means that your nonprofit needs to own the domain of your website. So if you're set up on Wix or Squarespace or something like that, and you have that name of that company in your URL, you can't use Google Ad Grant. But I think most of you, again, would have your own domain for your nonprofit. So it's just nonprofitname.org or .com or whatever. So hopefully most of you have that type of website, and that box is checked. And then another thing that you might see as you start digging into this, which I just want to kind of like get ahead of it because it sounds daunting, but it's actually quite simple. It's called SSL certification. So this is another requirement that you'll see in the application process. SSL stands for Secure Sockets Layer. And basically all it does is it encrypts any data that's transferred on your site. So if somebody is filling out a form on your donate page, for example, their name, their payment details, their address, all of those, the sensitive information there will be automatically encrypted to help protect their privacy. And installing an SSL certificate is actually pretty easy. It's usually free or low cost. And it can also just be a great way to build trust with your audience and your website visitors anyway, just to kind of know, or let them know that, their data is protected on your site. And so it's a good thing to have anyway, but it is a requirement for the Google Ad Grant. And then last but not least, you just have to check some boxes to agree to the additional terms of service, which are pretty standard. And that's how you know if you're eligible. So getting started, if you determine that you are eligible, the first step is to apply for the grant through Google's nonprofit portal. So I've linked that here in the deck as well. So you can click through that once we send this out and kind of like get started, learning a little bit more about the process. And again, there's lots of helpful information from Google on how to get started, lots of step-by-step instructions, FAQs, things like that. And so if you are a Feathr user and you want to get all of the benefits of running this channel in Feathr with your other marketing campaigns, I recommend going ahead and getting started with the application process now. And if you're not a Feathr user, but you're interested in having a Google Ad grant and potentially running that and other campaign types in Feathr, you can go ahead and start the application process as well, so that you can hit the ground running with Google Ad grant once you start using Feathr. Cool. And just a few sort of best practices, kind of thinking ahead to once you start using Google Ad Grant, what are some ways that you can ensure that you are getting the most out of your campaigns, that you're maintaining the grant month after month, just some, ways to kind of make everything easier and more effective. So one important thing is that no matter how great your ad campaigns are, no matter how high your click-through rates are even, your conversion rates depend on a lot more than that, right? So if people are clicking through on your ads, but then they're getting to a landing page that might feel like an afterthought, or the content on the page isn't, clearly tied to what they just saw in the ad, there aren't clear calls to action on the page, people will not take action, and then you'll end up with high bounce rates, low conversion rates on your ad campaigns, which we don't want. So be sure to put thought into where you're directing people to from your ads, making sure it's explicitly tied to what they just saw in the ad. And then when it comes to, the keywords that you want to pick, you want to stay with things that are highly specific to your organization. So I think another challenge is sort of being realistic about that. And also $10,000 a month is a huge budget. And I think that can sometimes feel like, we need to do everything that we can and kind of expand our efforts and like maybe stretch outside of our normal goals. And you can get a little carried away and broad with targeting in a way that is going to actually be detrimental. And so first of all, I think it's important to note that most small and medium organizations that have Google Ad Grant don't even use half of this budget per month. And Google doesn't have any specific rules about using a certain amount to maintain the grant. So you don't have to worry like, oh, if I don't spend the full 10K a month, I'll lose it. That doesn't exist. And so try to think of it like don't feel any added pressure around that amount or feel like you have to sort of stretch outside of your normal goals. This is meant to support and not be, an added burden. And then second of all, you have to remember that there are tons of other organizations vying for that number one spot for any given search term, right? So if you're straying too far from what your organization actually offers, Google is going to clock this and kind of be less likely to show your ads because, again, Google wants people to have a good user experience. And what that looks like is people clicking on ads that they see on the search results page and then being taken to a legitimate web page that has highly relevant content based on what they were actually searching for, right? So if your campaigns are not set up to this standard or the page content is sort of irrelevant to the ad, Google is going to give preference to another organization that is doing that well. And so just focusing on providing helpful, relevant information that is directly connected with the specific services you offer or the specific things that you're looking for, that is going to tell Google that you deserve to be prioritized for that top spot. And then one last tip is running Google Ad Grant in the same platform as your other marketing campaigns. So in just a minute, Chris is going to talk about, Feathr's integration with Google Ad Grant and kind of show you how you can manage the grants in Feathr. And after that, I'll talk a little bit more about combining these campaigns with other marketing campaigns to really enhance your outreach, run better omni-channel marketing. But in a nutshell, bringing your marketing under one roof and bringing Google Ad Grant under the same place as you're running your other, your retargeting campaigns, your geofencing, your email marketing. This just gives you a lot more centralized control over the management of your campaigns. You get more holistic reporting. You can more easily see what's working and what's not. And that's ultimately going to just make it feel easier to run successful Google Ad Grant campaigns so that you can keep getting that $10,000 a month, $120K a year for your organization, which is super impactful. So I will now pass it to Chris to dive into how it looks in Feathr, how campaign setup works, talk through a little bit of that. Oh, I'm seeing some connection issues. Sorry, one sec, guys. I think Chris is coming on now.
Can you put me on stage, please?
Yeah, hold on. Chris is here. We're trying to get him on the main stage.
Hey, everyone. I feel like
go.
I'm handed camera or something. My computer just completely went black about, I guess, 30 seconds before Isa was going to introduce me. I feel
Great to have
very
him.
lucky that it restarted fast enough. Wow, what a time to have something like that happen. Okay, so let me catch up. I don't think I missed much actually, but I know that this is part of this is my part of the presentation, where I will be sort of showing what Isa has been talking about and showing exactly what it looks like in Feathr and what you can do, what you will be able to do in Feathr. Did everyone lose connection? Maybe
I'm
not.
trying to figure out what's going on.
Funny happened.
Can someone who is on here, I don't know.
It's okay, I think.
I think it's okay, yeah.
So so yeah, let me regain my composure, but no.
Yeah, no worries. Also, just for refresher. So we were just talking about some of these best practices, kind of the benefits of, running your Google ad grant the same platform as your other marketing campaigns. And I said that you were going to kind of dive into what that actually looks like, what those benefits are, and how campaign setup looks in Feathr.
Wonderful. Okay, I am prepared. So first, I would like to reiterate what Isa said at the beginning of the webinar, that the Feathr to Google Ad Grant integration is still in development. It's in the very final stage of development. As Isa said, we are testing it with real customers right now. We have live campaigns running. But because of that, I'm going to mostly stick to screenshots and also slightly violate the old adage of never show half a job, because I do have a couple of things that I will jump into our Feathr testing environment and briefly show what it looks like. The other thing that I wanted to do before I got started with this slide is to address Dustin's question from a few minutes ago. Let me scroll back up to double check what it said. Dustin Phillips asked, can we integrate what we already have if we're a Feathr customer? Right now, of course, the answer is no, simply because this is an unreleased feature. But as we've said, it's coming very soon. But once it is released, yes, you can integrate your existing Google Ads grant account. However, for the version 1 of this integration, you won't be able to import existing campaigns just yet. So once you've integrated with Feathr, if you're a Feathr customer and a Google Ads grant recipient, you can launch new Google Ads grant smart campaigns from the integration. And I think there were a couple of questions asking if there is a separate fee for using the integration. The answer is no. If you're already a Feathr customer, once this is released very soon, there is no additional charge or fee for using it. It is yours for the taking as a Feathr customer. The platform fee, the actual amount that you pay in order to use Feathr covers it. And Feathr does not take additional off the top from your ad budget. That $10,000 granted to you per month by Google goes entirely untouched by Feathr. This is simply a value add that we have developed for customers due to demand and due to, of course, the value of perhaps getting that $10,000 a month grant for the very first time for your organization. So
Real quick, I wanted to answer just one more question. I saw somebody asked, how long does it take to get approved for a Google Ad grant? So I just quickly looked that up because I wasn't sure. It looks like it can take about 5 business days. So once you submit the application, and go through that process, it can take up to 5 days to get approved. So that's obviously just that initial process of, having the account. And then you'd have to set up campaigns and all of that, which you can do in Feathr. But yeah, 5 days, it looks like. So I think it's pretty straightforward. I think a lot of the kind of like confusion around it is just like not knowing if you're eligible. There's like a lot of, I think, information that can feel kind of dense and heavy with getting started, but it really is pretty straightforward. If you're eligible, you can go apply through Google's nonprofit portal, submit the application, you'll hear back in 5 days, and you can get started. So yeah. Also, I saw somebody asking about getting in on beta testing. Definitely, we will pull this transcript after and just pull your names, and we can talk about this with the product team and see if we're looking for more customers to do testing on. I'm not sure what the answer is. Maybe Chris, you have a better answer, but definitely love to hear that people are interested in being involved in the pilot program. So
yeah, I can answer that, or I begin to answer it, and it was Richard Reams that asked that question. As of right now, our beta and demo pilot program is complete for what we designed it to be. However, it is possible that we could use additional data. I just can't make that call live on a webinar. But yeah, Lans and I hope I'm saying that right, Lans, and Richard. My email is there in the chat. It's just chris@feathr.co. If you'd like to reach out after the webinar, I will connect you with the right people to find out, or simply ask directly and get right back to you.
Yeah, same to you, Jessica. I saw you liked Richard's comment. So if that was because you're also interested, feel free to reach out to Chris as well.
With the caveat that the answer might be no, because as far as I know, the pilot program is complete as originally designed. That's not to say we couldn't use more data, but I can't be the arbiter of that decision right here. Okay. So as you're seeing here, one of the goals of Feathr's integration is to maximize the Google Ad Grant. What that means in practice really is the second arrow especially, is that by combining your Google Ad Grant with your Feathr account, you can include Google Ad campaigns in your overall marketing strategy via, among other options, Flight. If anyone is a Feathr user and is familiar with flights, that becomes an option once your Google Ad Grant is integrated. And what that also does is it opens up combined reporting. So in Feathr, any campaigns you run, you can always view the report of just that one-off ad hoc campaign, but that report can also be included as an overall report for your entire flight of campaigns, and it can also be included in a project report, excuse me. For example, if you were to run multiple Google Ads campaigns within a single Feathr project folder, you can view the total reporting in Feathr of just that project, and of course also include other campaign types in there too. It gives you, as we espouse constantly, a broader and more complete picture of your total marketing efforts, and of course where your money is being best spent. Will you change the slide, please, Isa? I have Isa driving the presentation here. We're also offering a simplified interface. So if you've run Google Ads grant campaigns before, you may be familiar with the handful of campaign types that Google Ads grant offers. The Feathr integration specifically integrates with smart campaigns, Google Smart Campaigns. And I will demonstrate as we go the way it does simplify your decision-making process. And it uses Google's AI tools to more or less design the campaign entirely for you. There's a little bit of basic information to input on the user side from what you as the user would be doing, but it does essentially design and write, so to speak, your campaign for you. And it does it so effectively because of all of the data that Google has compiled about usage. So I will be showing you that next. Will you change the slide, Isa? So if anyone's already familiar with using Feathr, once this integration is released, once your Feathr account is integrated with your Google Ads grant account, you will see, just like you see here sort of in the bottom left, Google Ads Grant becomes a new campaign type to choose from in Feathr. You can also see 6 of the many other campaign types available in Feathr on this screenshot. And the usability of this is simple. It's exactly what you're used to starting a different or any other campaign type in Feathr. Can you go to the next slide? So then this is the interface for building a Google Ad Grant campaign in Feathr. I'll reiterate again that these are static screenshots for now because this is an unreleased feature, but this is 95 to 99% what the final version will look like. And you can see it has this very simple 7, but really 6-step process. And half of the work is done for you, which is what I'll be showing next. But in this step 1, what's most important and what's really, really, if you take away one thing from this webinar about using Google Ad Grants with Feathr, it's that your own organization's website, the landing page that you will be directing traffic to in your Google Ads Grant campaign is of utmost importance to be high quality, to represent your mission, to be filled with optimized copy, because the website you enter at the beginning of your Google Ad Grant campaign is what Google will base all of its AI information off of, and will, like I'm going to show you next, essentially write the campaign for you. So because this is not released yet with Feathr, obviously, a good part of this webinar, or a goal of this webinar, is to get folks who haven't used Google Ad Grants yet thinking about applying. It's also a great opportunity to take another look at your website and make sure that the links are all working, that, like Isa said, your SSL certificate is intact, that the copy on your website is filled with descriptive and specific information about your organization and about your mission, because that is the core element of success in this entire thing. So once again, this is specifically a Google Smart campaign, and we'll see what's smart about it next. Can you change the slide, please? Another component of launching a Google Ads campaign, either in Feathr or in the native Google Ads Grant UI, is targeting, geographically targeting your search results. This helps you stretch your budget farther. Obviously, it starts with a pretty large budget, but you do want to be precise about where your search results are showing up, especially if you are a state-based or local-based charitable organization. And you basically don't want people who wouldn't benefit from your organization or your mission from being misled by a Google search result and then going to your website and realizing, oh, this doesn't apply to me. I've wasted my time. So can you change the slide, Isa? So as you can see, this matches up with step 2 in the Feathr Google Ad Grant integration. It's very simple. You can add, as you see here, a zip code, a city, a state, or a country. In this example, I've put all 4. It's unlikely that you would actually want to have all 4 of these. I picked Gainesville, Florida, because that's where Feathr is based. The entire country of the United States may be unnecessary. However, just for demonstration purposes, I showed that you can do that in this campaign setup. Okay, what's the next one, Isa? Cool. This is, as I've been talking about, the core of a Google Ads Grant campaign, Smart campaign. And in fact, this, what's the next slide? Okay, I think this is where I would like to take over and show this in real time. So let me choose that. Edit demo. DMA zones. I don't think you can. That's a really interesting question, Richard. I don't know the answer to that. I have my doubts, but I can find out for you. Part of the follow-up with the beta, I can talk to you about that. Okay, so what I'm sharing here is the actual test environment that I was getting those screenshots from, before. In the step where we will go to keywords, if I hit next, I don't know how it happened quickly, but what happened in this moment is because I chose feathr.co, the homepage of Feathr, as my target web page for this campaign, this drafted campaign, what just happened was Google in the background searched through feathr.co and generated this enormous number of potential keyword themes. And I didn't have to write anything. All I had to do was tell Feathr that which website I wanted to base this campaign off of and to have as the landing page of this campaign. It crawls our website and generates these keyword themes, and they're suggested keyword themes. So the exercise here is to choose 7 to 10 of them that apply, as Isa said, most specifically to your organization, because that will make your campaign perform better. And each of these represents a group of keywords, not just that one keyword. So in here, what you're actually doing is selecting keywords that you're anticipating people might search on Google and that you want your organization to appear at the top of that exact search. Once you've selected those themes, this is another part that I'd like to share that is part of the SMART campaign. In this step, Google is providing, again, directly as pulled from your website, providing suggested headlines for your ad, as well as suggested descriptions. And the end result is previewed here up at the top right. You can see that's labeled Ad Preview. And again, we're using Feathr as an example. This would obviously be pulled from your own organization. And this is what it looks like to the Google searcher. So if they got online and searched for nonprofit marketing, and they were in the target location that we selected in step 2 up here, they would see this ad at the top of their Google search results. And it would, of course, take them directly to the homepage or whatever landing page that you identify in step 1. What's cool about this and what's smart about this is I didn't write this ad. Google wrote it for me. And there's this regenerate button. And if I keep cycling through this, what you'll see is a combination of pre-written search result ads, sponsored search results is what they really are, that represent your organization, that is pulled directly from your website and automatically compiled together by Google in the way that Google has decided, based on the data it's collected, will best serve the audience of people that are searching for these keyword themes. And I could continue regenerating this. The actual display of this ad campaign would potentially show every combination of these that I'm continually regenerating. So even if the same person searches one day for nonprofit marketing, for example, or searches the next day for all your marketing, I don't know why that's in there, but surely someone has searched for that, they might see the ad 2 days in a row, but it wouldn't see necessarily the exact same one. So it keeps it fresh as well. And from a marketer's perspective, no creative effort is really required to do this. It's simply you are identifying which landing page you want to send people to, and you are choosing the location, the geographic location where you want to target with those ads. Google and Feathr do the rest. In fact, it's strongly recommended to not alter these suggestions. You do have the option, of course, that every one of these is editable by the user, by you when you're using this. But because of the data Google has collected and the whole reason they designed this SMART campaign, we recommend just letting it be what it is and saying, great, those are the ads I'll run. Let's do it. It's very smart. It's pretty exciting. And it does not take a lot of your time or creative energy. Keywords in Spanish too. I don't know the answer to that question, Peter. That's a really good question. I'm sure there's some Google documentation about languages that this works in. To my knowledge, the Feathr integration would be English only, but we can find out for you. That's a great question. Oh, and Isa has, in the meantime, done a little research to answer the DMA zone question. Thank you, Isa. Isa, can you, oh wait, I'm sharing. Let me, I'm going to give you your share back. Can you put on the next slide, please?
Yeah.
And actually, I did this live, so I might ask you to
you want to skip through these?
Yes. Yep, I showed that already. I skipped through that one too. Okay. Yeah. All right, so this is the step. Go back one, please. Yeah. Oh. There's also a comprehensive budgeting recommendation in the Feathr Google Ads Grant integration. It will base the suggested budget, of course, as usual in Feathr, off of the length of the campaign that you identify, as well as the anticipated number of search results from the keywords that you ask or that you add to the campaign, as well as the geographic area that you've selected. So in this example, there's a recommended budget for this campaign. Once again, because it's a Google Smart campaign, we always recommend going with the automated decision that Google has made for you. But as the Feathr user, you of course do ultimately have full control over budgeting for any given Google Ads Grant campaign that you publish. Can you go to the next? Kara, I also don't know the answer to that question. That may also apply to a different campaign type. Google Ads Grant has a lot of different campaign types, and the Feathr integration is specific to smart campaigns. We can probably find that out for you too. Off the top of my head, I don't know that. What I do know is that the Feathr integration will natively suggest the optimal budget for the campaign that you've set up. I'd also like to demonstrate, if I had it open, good. I had to scramble to get my tabs back up after my computer crashed. But I do want to show an example of a live report in Feathr as well. So actually, I'm going to put my share back on and talk about reporting. Let's see here. Can you put my screen on stage, please, Rachel? Thank you so much. So this is an actual report for a Feathr Google Ads Grant campaign that we ran actually 2 years ago that has been imported as part of the testing of this integration. So that's why you'll see that the activity stops at a very specific point. This is merely for our own internal testing purposes, but I did want to at least preview to those who are watching today what the report will look like for Google Ads Grants in Feathr. If you're already a Feathr user, this report interface will look familiar. You, of course, get all of the relevant data about views, clicks, conversions, spend. But what I think is the most interesting and most useful information that comes out of your report is this keyword performance table. This gives direct information about every single keyword that was targeted in your campaign. And that allows you to tweak your campaign to improve your keyword results if need be, but also generally have an excellent sense of what is working, what is bringing people to your website, and what to double down on in the future, as well as the click-through rate for each individual keyword, and the ultimate cost per click as well. And you can see that in this case, some people even got to our website by searching for the correct spelling of the word Feathr, but the incorrect spelling of the business Feathr. So yes, this is an example of a report. This does not contain conversion information beyond here because it's for testing purposes. But this is a preview of what you would expect to see from a Feathr report. And of course, one of the best parts about using Google Ad Grants within the Feathr platform is reporting can be combined with other campaign types. And in fact, we will show you very briefly an example of how you can set up an entire Feathr flight, including a Google Ads grant campaign, to maximize the data and the traffic you're receiving from that campaign and capitalize on it by combining with other Feathr campaign types, both retargeting and email campaigns. Okay, can you go back to the presentation, Isa? Thank you. And the next slide, please. Oh, good. Okay, I think that concludes my portion of showing the Feathr product. Thank you all for watching, and I'll hand it over back to Isa.
Cool. Before I get into this next section to wrap things up, I want to link a link to this support page from Google to answer the question that you just asked, Diego. It looks like there's a way to verify this. I understand what your question is, and it seems like there's confusion for other people. So it looks like if you log into your Google for Nonprofits dashboard, you can see your ad grants customer ID number. And then if you log into your Google Ads account, if the same customer ID number is there, you can read this yourself, but you should be able to verify whether that same Google Ad grants customer ID is the one that's associated with the billing on the campaigns that you're running. So hopefully this this link is helpful for following those instructions to verify that. But that's frustrating. Hopefully you can get that figured out. Cool. Okay. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, and as Chris has talked about throughout the presentation, this is a great channel to manage alongside other marketing channels and other marketing campaigns to really create that omni-channel strategy to surround people with your message. And as we know, every touch point counts when it comes to driving people to take action, right? So whether that's getting volunteers to sign up, getting people to make a donation, participate in an event like a 5K or something like that, or even getting the people that you actually serve to come and take advantage of your services and your offerings, every touch point counts. And so showing up in search results on Google is yet another place where you can meet people where they are. And then when you combine this with other campaigns that you're running on other channels, you can really optimize your nonprofit's visibility. So I've listed here just a few of the other campaign types that you can run in Feathr alongside your Google Ad grant campaigns. And then on this next slide, we'll get into an example of how you can kind of put Google Ad grant into the mix in an actual marketing plan. So let's talk about a few different scenarios where paid search campaigns on Google could fit into that bigger picture. So here on this slide, we have an example, a sample flight, and flight is just what we call a marketing plan or a marketing template in Feathr. And you can kind of see here how Google Ad Grant fits into that bigger picture. So imagine you're promoting a 5K to raise money for your cause, right? And somebody sees an ad for it on Facebook, and then maybe they see another ad for it on a site where they're browsing, like foodnetwork.com or something. But they don't click on either of those ads. But then later in the week, maybe they're thinking about it. Maybe they're like, you know what, I want to participate in a 5K. That sounds appealing to me. So they go and Google 5Ks in their area. And if you're running Google ad campaigns around that event, you can show up in that top search result, and they'll see that, click through to your site. They'll kind of connect it with the ads they were seeing and hopefully go through and register, right? Another scenario, which is kind of like in the reverse order of that almost, is that maybe somebody hasn't seen any of the promo for your 5K, but they are just interested in 5Ks. And so they go to Google and they type in 5Ks in my area this month or 5Ks in my town. And then, yours shows up at the top there. They click through to your website to learn more, but maybe they don't actually register that time around, right? Because that happens all the time too. People hit your donate page and they don't make a donation. They hit your event page, they don't register for the event. So now, because they've visited your site and Feathr lets you serve retargeting ads to people after they leave your site, you can then continue promoting that 5K to the person through ads as they browse the web on social media sites as they're scrolling on social, encouraging them to come back and sign up. So it's really about, continuing to engage people after they've gotten to your site. And you can tailor the messaging to where they are in the journey, right? So that's one of the benefits of doing all of this in a flight in Feathr, is because it makes it really easy to sort of visualize each individual person's journey with you, see how close they are to taking that final action, whether it is signing up for your 5K, making a donation, signing up for a volunteer opportunity. The more times they engage with you, come to your site, look into that thing that you're offering, whatever you're promoting, the more personalized you can kind of get in those ads as they move down the funnel. And this is where things like cart abandonment campaigns come in. As you can see here, retargeting people who visit the page and then bounce. So if someone comes to your 5K event page but doesn't sign up, the ads that they see next could reference that, right? So we've all seen ads like, have you forgotten something? Come back and finish registering, finish what you started, that kind of thing. So you can kind of like incorporate that into your ad messaging to gently remind them to come back and finish signing up. And another cool thing is if it is somebody whose email address you already have in your database, so maybe they've attended one of your events in the past, maybe they are subscribed to your newsletter, or they've filled out a form on your site. If you have their email address, you can also set up email campaigns in Feathr to target them based on how they're interacting with your website and your content and your promo for the 5K or for whatever it is that you're promoting. And these emails can then complement the ads that you're serving to them in other places, right? So again, just creating that surround sound marketing where you're reaching people in all of the places where they already are, all of the places they're spending their time, to kind of maximize the chances that you stand out enough for them to take action. So that is what a Google Ad Grant campaign looks like in the context of an overall marketing plan with other marketing campaigns. So yeah, I just want to kind of conclude by reiterating that Google Ads is a very powerful channel for nonprofits to be on and to be prioritizing. And Google Ad Grant makes it a lot more accessible. And so if you're interested in simplifying things even further for yourself, running all of it in Feathr helps kind of centralize all of your marketing and reporting. So, it makes it easier to see what's working, what's not, where you might need to move some budget around. And it just helps you keep the focus on the focus of all of your outreach campaigns on your organization's main goals. But that concludes today's presentation. Thank you everyone so much for joining. I hope this was helpful. I hope this made everything feel a little more digestible and accessible. It really is, a channel worth prioritizing, and Google Ad Grant really helps, I think, level the playing field for all of you hardworking nonprofit marketers. So definitely look into it. Definitely start the application process if you can. Let us know if you have any questions. And yeah, we look forward to chatting with you all soon. Thanks for joining.